Hey kids, Larson Halleck here, and oh boy, looks like we're on the verge of war again. This time with Russia. Neither side is backing down. Russia is massing troops on the Ukraine border. We have to get involved for some reason. And the talking heads in media are saying, let's invade Russia. Yeah, because that's always worked out great for everybody who tried it, right? I mean, what other brain blasts are you going to come up with next? Are we going to invade China too? That's also not something you can just do over the weekend. But all this saber rattling reminds me of a very dire problem this country has. America has a chickenhawk problem. That is plainly obvious to anybody who takes a look at American politics. The halls of power are full of these absolute scumbags. And I think we can all agree that somebody who screams and demands that somebody else, or somebody else's children even worse, wage acts of aggression on their behalf is one of the lowest forms of life there is. While they don't seem to be quite as common as they were during the Bush administration, when the likes of Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Karl Rove, Tom Lay, and the like were kicking around, all of whom avoided serving in Vietnam, there are still several, usually fat and red-faced, chicken hawks giving orders on American foreign policy. John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, and guys like that were around in the Trump years, and even now that mumbly Joe Biden is in office, there's still many of the same old clods thumping their chests. And some new ones like Tony Blinken. And let's not forget those old Republican standbys like Bill Kristol. Boy, I love bipartisan consensus. Hey, remember during the W administration when the Democrats at least pretended to be anti-war? Anybody? Anyone? Bueller? And just in case you thought that was an affliction of impotent old fat men, the youth are affected by it as well. Just take a look at the littlest chicken hawk himself, Ben Shapiro, who is still constantly demanding aggressive action in the Middle East. I believe he's also in favor of fighting in Russia. He was doing so as far back as the beginning of the Iraq War in 2003. He was 19 years old in 2003 and thus fully eligible to serve, but for some mysterious reason, he himself never showed up to the recruitment office. While the desire to live vicariously through the violence committed by other men is undoubtedly a universal trait, just look at how the action movie has in some form or another been a constant throughout the history of cinema. It seems to be more prevalent in the USA, if only because there's more opportunity for these people to get off on big explosions and battle footage and pew-pews. By which I mean the USA is involved in more military action, hence there's more available outlets for these people to get off on. If other countries were involved in international policing as much as we were, there would probably be more chicken hawks in those countries. It is clear to me that anybody who advocates real-life violence as an immediate rather than a last resort is somebody that has never served in the military or even faced any kind of physical violence in their life. I am not a military man myself, but as a martial artist who has taken many an ass whipping in the gym, I know firsthand that, well, violence sucks. Being in pain sucks. And that's half of knowing the danger of physical violence. It sounds very obvious, but apparently it's not, and it has to be said. And as I have discussed in articles on my website, committing overwhelming brutality, really beating somebody down until they're cowering in fear, yeah, that doesn't feel good either. Makes you feel pretty shitty once the adrenaline dies down. In short, the people who most advocate violence are those who have never committed it or had it committed upon them. So with that in mind, I feel that I have a very simple and easy way to make sure that nobody will ever again advocate pointless wars of aggression. We can pass a law. We can call it the Chickenhawk Conscription Law. This law will state that in the event of a war of aggression, which, let's be honest, every American war since 1953 has been, any figure of public prominence, whether it be a politician, a television pundit, or a blogger, YouTuber, other internet personality that has at least 100,000 subscribers, or makes at least 50% of their income from their internet endeavors, whichever comes first, if that person advocates for said war of aggression, they will be immediately drafted into the military in a frontline infantry combat position. They will be forced to fight on the front lines of the war they advocated so much for. Naturally, since they love the military and the war in question so much, I assume they would have no objection whatsoever to doing this. And personally, I can think of nothing more fun than fighting in a frontline infantry combat role in the depths of a Siberian winter. Let's take a look at the old weather app, and oh my, it's negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit at the time of this recording. Yes, the brain trust in the government did advocate invading Russia from east to west through Siberia. Even that mediocre Austrian painter who I won't name, he went west to east. And yes, I am avoiding saying his name, because I don't want to invoke the wrath of Susan Wabberjacky. Anyway, back to conscription. In the grand old tradition of Robert McNamara, we will lower any and all standards to get these people into the military, just like they deserve. Because if you want to fight, you shouldn't be rejected just because you're too short, or too old, or too fat, or too high cholesterol, eh, Bill Crystal? Wouldn't that be great to see these Chickenhawks getting to live out their dreams of being real-life army men? Don't you want to see Bill Crystal, or Ben Shapiro, or John Bolton, or Tony Blinken as the point man of a squad as they breach the doors of some smelly third-world hovel? Wouldn't you like to see Mike Pompeo or Hillary Clinton standing knee-deep in bilge water, lugging load after load of 75-pound artillery shells for 12 hours straight? And yes, I know that infantry and artillery are two different things. You don't have to remind me, veterans. But yeah, in general, the thought of this all amuses me, to be quite honest. Just as much as the thought of how quickly support for war would dry up the second those braying clowns would be forced to put their money where their mouths were and actually fight their own battles. Or, in other words, like I always say, never trust anybody that hasn't been punched in the face. I'm Larson Halleck, and hopefully, someday, these people will get what they deserve. I'm really doubting it. And now, a word from our sponsors. Hello, are you a fan of Larson Halleck and the Barbaric Gentleman? Of course you are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching. Would you like to help the channel grow? Here's how you can. You can go to patreon.com and pledge some money, joining the ranks of the illustrious heroes you'll find at the end of the video. You can also go to paypal.me/LarsonHalleck to give me some money, or you can follow me on social media, at Larson Halleck on Twitter and Instagram. I don't use right-wing grifter sites like Gab and Parler because they suck. You can also buy my books. The links to do so are in the video description. And of course, please subscribe and spread the word. That name again is Larson Halleck, and I hope you enjoyed the video.